When a woman knows her own worth, every word she speaks carries weight. It's not about arrogance or superiority. It's about an unshakable sense of self. People can feel it before you even open your mouth. Think about the moments in your own life when someone walked into the room and immediately commanded respect without raising their voice or demanding attention. That energy is born from self-worth, and self-worth changes the way you speak to men. Too often, women are taught that if they want a man's love, they must adapt, compromise, and chase. They're told to craft the perfect text, say the right line, keep the conversation light, don't scare him off. All of this puts the power outside of you. It places your focus on how to get him rather than how to express who you truly are. But high-value communication flips that script. It begins with an inner conviction, I am already enough. When that belief is real, your tone shifts, your body language shifts, and your words reflect calm strength instead of anxious need. Psychologically, this matters because human beings are wired to respond to certainty. Men, just like women, are drawn to those who radiate self-possession. If you speak from a place of scarcity, you unconsciously signal that you're looking for someone to fill a gap in your life. That signal triggers distance, not closeness. But when you speak from a place of wholeness, you invite connection rather than clinging to it. You're no longer asking someone to complete you, you're inviting them to join you. That difference is magnetic. Philosophically, think about the ancient Stoics. They believed that a person's worth wasn't determined by the opinions of others, but by their own alignment with virtue, with character, with inner discipline. Marcus Aurelius wrote, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. In other words, your internal dialogue shapes your external presence. If your internal narrative is, I hope he likes me, I need to be chosen, that color bleeds into your speech. If your internal narrative is, I respect myself, I'm here to offer connection, not to beg for it, that color creates an aura of value. So how does this look in real conversations? It starts with slowing down. Most people rush their words when they're anxious. A high-value woman speaks at a measured pace. She pauses, she allows silence to do some of the work. That pause communicates, I'm comfortable with myself. I don't need to fill the space to earn approval. Men interpret that as confidence. It's the same principle as a powerful speaker on stage. Tony Robbins himself pauses deliberately, leans in, makes eye contact. He's not scrambling for your validation, he's already centered. When a woman knows her own worth, every word she speaks carries weight. It's not about arrogance or superiority, it's about an unshakable sense of self. People can feel it before you even open your mouth. But think about the moments in your own life when someone walked into the room and immediately commanded respect without raising their voice or demanding attention. That energy is born from self-worth, and self-worth changes the way you speak to men. Too often, women are taught that if they want a man's love, they must adapt, compromise, and chase. They're told to craft the perfect text, say the right line, keep the conversation light, don't scare him off. All of this puts the power outside of you. It places your focus on how to get him, rather than how to express who you truly are. But high-value communication flips that script. It begins with an inner conviction, I am already enough. When that belief is real, your tone shifts, your body language shifts, and your words reflect calm strength instead of anxious need. Psychologically, this matters because human beings are wired to respond to certainty. Men, just like women, are drawn to those who radiate self-possession. If you speak from a place of scarcity, you unconsciously signal that you're looking for someone to fill a gap in your life. That signal triggers distance, not closeness. But when you speak from a place of wholeness, you invite connection rather than clinging to it. You're no longer asking someone to complete you. You're inviting them to join you. That difference is magnetic. Philosophically, think about the ancient Stoics. They believed that a person's worth wasn't determined by the opinions of others, but by their own alignment with virtue, with character, with inner discipline. Marcus Aurelius wrote, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. In other words, your internal dialogue shapes your external presence. If your internal narrative is, I hope he likes me, I need to be chosen, that color bleeds into your speech. If your internal narrative is, I respect myself, I'm here to offer connection, not to beg for it, that color creates an aura of value. So how does this look in real conversations? It starts with slowing down. Most people rush their words when they're anxious. A high-value woman speaks at a measured pace. She pauses. She allows silence to do some of the work. That pause communicates, I'm comfortable with myself. I don't need to fill the space to earn approval. Men interpret that as confidence. It's the same principle as a powerful speaker on stage. Tony Robbins himself pauses, deliberately leans in, makes eye contact. He's not scrambling for your validation, he's already centered. Another practice is to check your emotional state before you engage. Ask yourself, am I speaking to express or am I speaking to impress? Expressing is rooted in authenticity. Impressing is rooted in fear. When you express, your words are simple, clear, and honest. When you try to impress, your words become over-engineered, strategic, and lose their power. You also want to be mindful of boundaries. A high-value woman doesn't let disrespect slide because she's afraid of losing a man. She calmly and clearly states what is acceptable and what is not. This isn't about ultimatums, it's about self-respect. And here's the paradox: men respond far more positively to clear boundaries than to vague appeasement. Boundaries communicate, I know who I am. Vague appeasement communicates, I'm scared to lose you. But tone matters as much as content. You can say the exact same sentence in a way that either projects neediness or projects value. Why didn't you call me? Said with tension signals insecurity. I noticed you didn't call me. Is everything okay? Said calmly signals care and self-assurance. The difference isn't just in the words, it's in the energy behind them. And finally, embody gratitude and joy in your interactions. High-value communication is not cold or distant. It's warm, but it's not desperate. You can smile, laugh, and compliment, but it comes from a place of generosity, not bargaining. You're not giving praise to earn something back. You're sharing your authentic appreciation. That authenticity is powerful. When you start practicing these principles, you'll notice something subtle. The quality of the men you attract begins to shift. Men who thrive on control or manipulation will drift away because they can't gain leverage over someone with self-worth. Men who are emotionally healthy and ready for a real partnership will feel drawn to you because your presence offers them both respect and inspiration. This is not about playing a role. It's about returning to your center, remembering your worth, and letting your communication reflect that truth. The more you anchor into self-worth, the less you have to perform, and the more naturally you'll speak in a way that inspires love and respect. So as you leave this room tonight, remember this, because you don't need a script to make a man love you. You need a state of inner certainty, inner dignity, and inner abundance. When you speak from that place, your words become irresistible, not because they're perfectly crafted, but because they're real. And real always wins. When you've anchored yourself in self-worth, the next natural evolution is in the words you choose. Language is more than vocabulary. It's the medium through which your energy, your standards, and your emotional presence travel. When a high-value woman speaks to a man, she isn't just exchanging information. She's shaping the emotional climate of the interaction. Her words either invite a man to rise into respect and connection or unconsciously teach him to lower the bar. Most of us don't realize how powerful our habitual language patterns are. Neuroscience shows that words not only describe reality, they create it. When you repeatedly use phrases of blame, sarcasm, or passive criticism, you condition your own nervous system to expect conflict. And you condition the other person to either defend or withdraw. Conversely, when you use words that frame possibilities, affirm strengths, and express curiosity instead of judgment, you build a neural association of safety and expansion. Men, like all humans, are drawn to the environments where they feel safe, seen, and inspired. This is why empowering language is so magnetic. It signals a different frame. Instead of, you never listen to me, which triggers shame and defensiveness, you might say, I feel heard right now and I'd love to understand each other better. Same situation, totally different energy. One approach escalates, the other opens. And here's the crucial point. You're not sugarcoating or pretending. You're still being honest about your experience, but you're communicating in a way that makes respect possible rather than impossible. Philosophically, this is rooted in an old principle, logos, the Greek word for reason, speech, and order. The ancients believed language had creative power, that the way you name and frame things literally calls them into being. When your speech reflects respect and possibility, you're calling those qualities in the relationship. When your speech reflects contempt, you're calling that in too. So ask yourself before you speak, what am I creating with my words right now? This also applies to how you speak about yourself. A high-value woman rarely engages in self-deprecating humor that undercuts her dignity. She may be playful and humble, but she does not verbally diminish herself to make others comfortable. That habit, which seems harmless, teaches a man how to see you. If you constantly joke about being crazy or too much, don't be surprised if that becomes the frame he holds you in. Empowering language starts with how you describe yourself, your goals, and your needs. Tone and delivery amplify the message. You can say the right words in a frantic, high-pitched, or pleading tone and lose all their power. Slow down. Breathe. Drop your voice slightly into its natural register. Make eye contact. These are not tricks, they are signals of self-command. Tony Robbins himself models this on stage. He's animated, but he also grounds his voice, pauses, and uses certainty. Certainty is not volume, it's presence. When you speak from that state, even a simple sentence can land with enormous impact. Another dimension of respectful language is learning to replace criticism with invitation. Instead of saying, "You're doing that wrong," say, "Here's how I'd love it to feel," or "Can we try this instead?" This doesn't mean you never express frustration. It means you express it in a way that aims at resolution rather than punishment. That subtle shift transforms the energy of the relationship. Men don't feel attacked, they feel challenged to step up. Remember, too, that appreciation is not weakness. Many women withhold praise because they think it will make them look needy. In reality, authentic appreciation offered from a position of self-worth is one of the most potent forms of influence. When you acknowledge what you genuinely value in a man, his effort, his thoughtfulness, his ambition, you reinforce those qualities. People repeat behaviors that are noticed. Your words become a kind of mirror, reflecting the best in him back to himself, which inspires him to bring more of it. None of this is about being this for its own sake. It's about being intentional. You're not diluting your standards or your truth. You're delivering them in a way that elevates the conversation. That is what makes a high-value woman stand out. She doesn't use language as a weapon to wound or as bait to manipulate. She uses it as an instrument to express her authentic self while inviting a man into a higher level of connection. When you practice this, you'll notice the shift. Conversations become smoother without becoming shallow. Disagreements turn into opportunities to understand each other rather than reasons to walk away. You'll feel more relaxed because you're no longer performing. You're simply aligning your words with your worth. And the men who are capable of meeting you at that level will feel both respected and inspired, which is the very soil in which real love grows. So as you leave here, consider this: every time you open your mouth, you're building a bridge or a barrier. The quality of that bridge depends on the quality of your language. Choose words that elevate. Choose words that invite. Choose words that align with the woman you know you are. When you do, you won't have to wonder if a man will love you. Your communication will make respect and love the natural response. If you've grounded yourself in self-worth and learned to choose empowering language, the next dimension is not what comes out of your mouth at all, but what you do with your attention. Most people think communication is mostly about talking. In reality, the deepest influence comes from how you listen. High-value women don't just speak well. They listen with a presence that makes a man feel truly seen. That quality of attention is rare, and because it's rare, it's magnetic. Psychologically, one of the strongest human needs is the need to be understood. When a man feels that the person across from him isn't simply waiting for a turn to talk, but is actually registering his words, his tone, his emotions, he relaxes, his nervous system shifts from guarded to open. At that moment, connection becomes possible. That's why in every field, leadership, negotiation, therapy, sales, the most powerful people are usually the best listeners. They create a container in which others can drop their armor. Active listening is not passive. It's a skill and a discipline. It means giving your full focus without simultaneously rehearsing your next line. It means reading body language, noticing micro expressions, and letting silence do some of the work. It's eye contact, slight nods, a brief verbal acknowledgments, and genuine curiosity. In that space, you're telling the other person, "If I'm here, I'm paying attention, you matter." For a man who's used to being judged or managed, that experience can feel extraordinary. Philosophically, you can think of this as the practice of presence. The philosopher Martin Buber called it the I-thou relationship, a meeting of two subjects rather than objectifying of one by the other. In I-ite, exchange, you're talking at someone to get something. In an I-thou exchange, you're encountering another consciousness as an end in itself. High-value women cultivate I-thou interactions. They're not listening in order to manipulate, they're listening to understand. Paradoxically, that authenticity is far more persuasive than any strategy. Presence doesn't mean losing your boundaries. You're not a sponge absorbing every feeling or story. You're an anchor. You're steady enough in yourself that you can give attention without being swallowed. That steadiness makes your listening safe. It signals, I can hold space for you without disappearing. Men pick up on that unconsciously. It differentiates you from someone who is attentive because she's desperate for approval versus someone who is attentive because she's secure. Practically, one of the simplest ways to embody this is to slow down your reactions when he shares something, especially something emotional or vulnerable. Resist the impulse to immediately fix it, defend yourself, or relate it back to your own experience. Breathe. Let there be a beat of silence. Often that pause alone allows a deeper truth to emerge from him. In that moment, you're not only gathering information, you're giving him the rare experience of being witnessed. Another practice is reflective listening. This isn't parroting his words back. It's summarizing the essence of what you've heard and checking in. It sounds like work has been overwhelming and you're worried about dropping the ball. Did I get that right? That kind of reflection demonstrates comprehension and empathy without losing clarity. You're saying, I hear you. And also, I'm strong enough to hold what you're sharing. Why does this matter in a romantic context? Because intimacy is built on emotional safety. A man who feels emotionally safe is more likely to open up, to share his deeper self, to trust. And a relationship built on trust and openness is far more resilient than one built on performance and surface charm. When you master active listening and emotional presence, you become the kind of partner with whom a man can build, not just flirt. Importantly, your listening also teaches him how to listen to you. By modeling presence, you raise the standard for the interaction. You're showing, not telling, what respectful attention looks like. Healthy men will mirror that back. Unhealthy men who can't or won't meet that level of presence will drift away. And that's a win for you because it saves you time and heart-touch. This level of attention transforms the quality of your conversations. Disagreements become explorations instead of battles. Needs and desires can be voiced without drama. Both people leave the interaction feeling expanded rather than diminished. And because your presence isn't a tactic but a natural expression of your self-worth, it doesn't drain you, it nourishes you too. So as you practice, remember that the real power is not in the cleverness of your next line, but in the depth of your presence right now. The moment you truly hear another person, you change the emotional field between you. In that field, respect, attraction, and even love can grow almost effortlessly. And here's the thought I want to leave you with: speaking gets you heard, but listening gets you trusted. Trust is the foundation on which lasting connection is built. Become the woman who can offer that, and you won't have to chase love. Love will find you. As by the time you've built your inner worth, chosen empowering language, and learned to listen with presence, there's one more pillar that makes everything coherent: the ability to communicate your standards and desires clearly without fear. This is the moment where many women falter. They can be confident, graceful, and empathic, yet hesitate when it comes to actually stating what they want. They fear it will push a man away, seem too much, or break the harmony. But in reality, unspoken expectations are the silent killers of connection. High-value women don't rely on hints or tests. They create clarity. Psychologically, clarity is kindness. When you articulate what you need, you're removing guesswork and anxiety from the interaction. And men don't have to decode mixed signals. They don't have to wonder if they're meeting an invisible bar. This not only elevates the respect in the relationship, it also filters. A man who is aligned will lean in. A man who isn't will self-select out. That saves you both time and heart-touch. Think of it like architecture. Your self-worth is the foundation. Your language is the framing. Your listening is the interior space. And your standards are the walls and doorways. They define the shape of the house. Without them, the structure collapses or sprawls into chaos. With them, people know how to enter, where to go, and how to be inside. Standards aren't walls to keep love out. They're structures that make love sustainable. Philosophically, this is a return to agency. In existential thought, freedom is not just the absence of constraint. It's the responsibility to define your values and act on them. When you speak your standards calmly and openly, you're exercising that freedom. You're saying, I'm not a passive recipient of whatever happens. I'm a conscious creator of my relationships. That's profoundly attractive to a man who's emotionally mature because it signals that he's not entering a fog of reactivity but a field of intentionality. The key is how you express these standards, not to man's ultimatums or emotional blackmail, but as clear, neutral facts about who you are, how you operate. I value consistency. It helps me feel safe. I'm looking for a partnership where we both support each other's growth. I don't engage in relationships that involve shouting or disrespect. These are not scripts to memorize, they're statements of reality. They don't attack the other person, they simply illuminate the playing field. You can notice the energy difference between "you'd better call me every night" and "I feel most connected when we check in at the end of the day." One is a control move. The other is an invitation. One triggers resistance. The other opens the door for a man to rise to the occasion. Healthy dynamics. Men actually appreciate this clarity. It gives them something to step into, a way to win. Without it, they're navigating in the dark. This also applies to boundaries around your time, your body, your finances, your emotional labor. A high-value woman does not overextend herself in the hope of earning affection. She gives generously, but from choice, not compulsion. She's willing to walk away if her core values are not met, not as a threat, but as a simple truth. That willingness is not cold, it's self-respect. And paradoxically, it increases the respect she receives. To embody this, practice speaking your standards in low-stakes situations. Ask clearly for what you want at a restaurant. Say no to small requests you genuinely don't have capacity for. Notice how your body reacts when you state a preference. The more you do this, the more natural it becomes in intimate relationships. A clarity becomes your default rather than your exception. When you combine this clarity with the warmth of active listening and the grace of empowering language, something powerful happens. You're no longer in a push-pull dance of trying to be chosen or trying to control. You're inviting a man into a clearly defined, emotionally rich space where he knows how to succeed and feels inspired to do so. Some men will back away. Let them. The ones who remain will be those who actually value what you value. This isn't about perfection. You'll sometimes wobble between over-accommodating and over-asserting. That's normal. The point is progress, not performance. Each time you express a need or boundary clearly, you reinforce your own sense of worth and teach the relationship how to function. Over time, that creates a partnership built not on guessing games, but on mutual respect and conscious choice. And here's the closing thought I want to leave you with. Unspoken truth creates silent resentment, but spoken truth creates visible pathways. When you dare to articulate your standards and desires calmly and without fear, you transform the relationship from a guessing game into a shared journey. Speak your truth with clarity and warmth, and you won't have to wonder if you're too much. You'll simply be yourself, and the right man will love you for exactly that.